I thought I'd finally mastered the Canadian trash system. Blue bin for recyclables, black for everything else. Simple. That morning, I wheeled our blue bin to the curb feeling mildly heroic. It was unusually full, its lid slightly ajar because of a last-minute addition. One broken plastic chair, its crooked legs sticking out like guilty limbs. Coffee in hand, I stood by the window and waited for the familiar rumble of the recycling truck. It came. It passed. Just like that. No brake lights, no hesitation, not even a pity pause. Our bins stood there untouched, like a party guest no one talks to. It felt oddly personal, like we'd been ghosted by a municipal service. Later, my wife, ever the quiet fact-checker, gave me a knowing headshake and a soft smile that said, "This is why I read the rules." It was the chair. I'd assumed all plastic was plastic. I was wrong. That overlooked bin became the start of an unexpected audit, not of my garbage sorting skills, but of the quiet, automatic assumptions I bring into daily life. And in a house packed with 3 generations, I was starting to realize that my assumptions weren't just about trash. And isn't that just a classic case of assumption meets reality? I mean, who knew a simple blue bin could hold such profound life lessons? That moment really got me thinking about all the other quiet, automatic assumptions we carry around. Yeah, especially when we're navigating, the complex ecosystems of our daily lives, whether it's the intricate dance of a multi-generational household or like the sometimes bewildering experience of adapting to a completely new cultural environment.
Right.
Those hidden assumptions are always there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Shaping our interactions in ways we rarely even notice.
It's remarkable how such a seemingly mundane event, like you said, a missed recycling pickup, can trigger such a deeply insightful reflection.
Totally.
What your story highlights so vividly is how our individual interpretations of rules, social norms, even basic practicalities are profoundly shaped by our own unique backgrounds and experiences. And when those deeply ingrained interpretations clash with a different set of expectations, whether from a municipal service, a new culture, or even a family member, that's precisely when friction, confusion, or even outright conflict can arise. It's a powerful testament, really, to the invisible forces guiding our everyday actions.
Absolutely. So today, we're really going on a deep dive into those hidden assumptions. We're going to peel back the layers on how they influence everything, from our civic behavior to our most intimate family dynamics.
Sounds fascinating.
We're going to begin by analyzing the cross-cultural challenges that emerge when adapting to new societal norms, using waste management as our fascinating and sometimes frustrating case study.
Okay.
From there, we'll pivot inward, exploring the psychological impact of unchecked cognitive biases on interpersonal communication, especially within multi-generational households, where expectations can silently collide.
It's a very common scenario.
And finally, we'll investigate some truly effective strategies for fostering clear, explicit dialogue to bridge those understanding gaps, helping us navigate these complex relationships with a little more grace and hopefully a lot more humor. Because, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best way to learn is to giggle at our own delightfully human quirks.
Couldn't agree more. It keeps things in perspective.
So, my recycling revelation with a broken plastic chair. It was truly eye-opening, almost comically so. I remember feeling so self-satisfied, like a hero of sustainability, wheeling out this overflowing blue bin.
Right, the mild heroism.
Exactly. The lid was barely clinging on because I'd forced this plastic patio chair in there, its crooked legs sticking out like some cartoon villains ready to trip the unwary. My internal monologue was something like, plastic is plastic, right?
Of course. Seems logical.
It all goes in, gets melted down, and magically transformed into something new, something pristine, perhaps even a better chair, ready to serve another generation.
Oh, the naive optimism.
We've all been there with some assumption or another.
But then the truck, the infamous truck, it just breezed by. No slowing down, no acknowledgement of my valiant, if misguided, efforts. It felt like a personal rejection, A tiny, profound existential crisis delivered curbside.
It really hit me then. My assumption that all plastic is plastic was completely, gloriously, utterly off. My wife, bless her, the quiet fact-checker and real MVP of household logistics,
Yeah.
she later showed me the specific rules. Turns out, large, rigid item like a patio chair are not for the blue bin. It wasn't just about putting things in the right color bin. It was about understanding the specific, often subtle nuances of the system.
The fine print.
Exactly, which sometimes means going beyond what feels like common sense.
Yeah.
My aha moment was realizing that ingrained habits and what felt intuitively right weren't always enough.
Yeah.
You actually had to read the instructions, which if I'm being honest, felt like a personal affront to my innate understanding of the universe.
Well, your personal anecdote serves as a perfect, relatable illustration of how deeply ingrained habits and local norms truly function, especially in something as seemingly straightforward as waste management. These systems, whether in Canada or anywhere else, they operate on a fundamental premise that waste will be meticulously sorted into specific fractions.
Right.
Their overall efficiency and the ability to reclaim valuable resources hinge entirely on universal and accurate participation. Even minor deviations from the established rules, if not explicitly understood by everyone, can cascade into significant operational problems for the entire system.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not simply about knowing a rule on paper, it's about internalizing and understanding the culture of that rule, which encompasses the subtle expectations, the societal consensus, and the unstated norms that often dictate how things are actually done. This is where the rubber meets the road between policy and practice.
That experience, yeah, as frustrating as it was, it actually led me down this fascinating rabbit hole of cross-cultural clashes, especially regarding waste management. I stumbled across these online discussions where people were sharing observations, sometimes quite challenging observations, about waste disposal habits when individuals moved between different countries.
Oh, interesting. What?
Well, for instance, some users described frustrations regarding public spaces being left untidy after large gatherings, or how certain areas, particularly in residential neighborhoods, would accumulate broken items or discarded furniture that residents just sort of expected the city to collect without specific arrangements.
Right, just assuming it'll be handled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Other accounts talked about public transport being left with, food wrappers and coffee cups, or general complaints about littering in parks and recreational areas. There was this recurring sentiment that some individuals, despite relocating to countries known for their cleanliness, didn't seem to fully integrate into the local customs of public tidiness and proper waste disposal.
That's a common friction point in multicultural societies.
It really sparked this broader question about what we call civic sense. Is it inherent? Or is it something learned and adapted to a new environment? Because clearly some people encounter a significant learning curve when they move, sometimes to the bewilderment of long-term residents.
These observations, though anecdotal, they vividly illustrate a crucial point in environmental policy and public behavior. Formal policies and impressive infrastructure for waste management by themselves are often insufficient to guarantee high recycling rates or effective waste reduction.
No, it's not just about having the bins.
Precisely. Their ultimate success depends heavily on a deep alignment with underlying cultural norms and collective civic responsibility. Think about societies that, despite having less technologically advanced waste systems, achieve surprisingly high levels of recycling and waste reduction.
Yeah.
It's precisely because of deeply embedded pro-environmental cultural norms. This truly underscores the primacy of cultural context in determining the success or failure of any environmental initiative. It proves that collective mindset can sometimes outweigh technological sophistication.
That's a really powerful point.
And for many, particularly new arrivals or migrant workers, the challenges in complying with waste management regulations can be even more nuanced and complex. For example, research has highlighted how female domestic workers, who often handle household waste for employers, they can face precarious immigration and employment statuses. On top of that, they might encounter racism, xenophobia, or even street harassment simply while carrying out their duties related to waste sorting.
Wow, I hadn't even considered that layer.
And financial circumstances can also dictate their ability or willingness to sort waste properly. They might be asked to transport sorted waste to distant recycling stations after their paid working hours, effectively shouldering an uncompensated burden.
So it becomes another job, essentially.
Exactly. Plus, the simple availability and proximity of recycling stations frequently emerge as significant practical obstacles for these individuals when it comes to properly discarding sorted waste. It's truly a multi-layered issue, extending far beyond merely understanding a printed rule.
It's a really powerful and humbling realization that cultural differences can lead to such significant misunderstandings, even about something as seemingly straightforward as throwing away trash.
Absolutely.
It really shows us that when you move to a different country, it's not just about learning a new language or finding your way around. It's about deeply adapting to an entirely new set of societal norms and expectations that subtly yet profoundly shape every aspect of daily life. My plastic chair was a small personal blip,
Yeah.
But these broader observations truly underline the immense and ongoing journey of cultural adaptation that many individuals undertake.
Well said.
So if direct mandates and simply knowing the rules aren't always enough to shift ingrained behaviors, how do we gently guide people towards more sustainable actions? That brings us to this fascinating concept known as nudging.
Nudging, yes.
Think of it as a subtle behavioral intervention, right? A gentle tap on the shoulder that encourages desirable actions without restricting anyone's freedom of choice.
Right, it's not coercion.
No, exactly. It's about artfully altering the environment in which choices are made, making the sustainable or preferred option the easiest, the most obvious, or even the most attractive one. It's like putting the healthy snacks at eye level in the grocery store instead of hidden on the bottom shelf.
Good analogy.
Or in the context of waste, prominently placing recycling bins right where people can't possibly miss them, almost inviting them to participate.
Nudging is indeed a captivating field, drawing heavily from behavioral economics and psychology. It fundamentally aims to influence our intuitive and automatic decision-making processes, rather than relying solely on conscious, effortful thought or explicit instruction.
Okay.
Several foundational theories underpin the most effective nudging strategies. First, you have prospect theory.
Prospect theory.
Yeah, it illuminates how people value potential gains and losses differently. It focuses on loss aversion, meaning we tend to feel the pain of a loss more acutely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain.
Ah, okay. So framing matters.
Immensely. So framing choices to emphasize potential gains or to minimize perceived losses can be incredibly persuasive.
Got it.
Then there's the dual process theory. This distinguishes between our two systems of thinking. System 1, which is fast, intuitive, emotional.
Our gut reaction.
Exactly. And System 2, which is slower, more deliberate, and logical. Nudging primarily targets that automatic System 1 thinking that guides so much of our daily behavior, often unconsciously.
Okay.
We also apply choice architecture theory, which is all about deliberately structuring environments to guide behavior in a desired direction. Imagine how the layout of a school cafeteria can be designed to subtly encourage students to choose fruits and vegetables over desserts.
Makes sense. Setting up the choice.
Precisely. Closely related is the default effect theory, which leverages people's natural tendency to stick with pre-selected options.
Oh, like opting out versus opting in.
Exactly. For example, if a new utility account automatically defaults to a green energy subscription, many customers will simply stay with that default rather than actively opting out, even if they have the freedom to change it.
Inertia is powerful.
Very. And finally, social norms theory highlights the immense influence of what is considered socially acceptable or commonly practiced on individual behavior. If a community visibly and consistently engages in recycling, individuals are far more likely to conform and participate themselves, seeing it as the expected and normal thing to do.
Keeping up with the Joneses, but for recycling.
In a way, yes. Peer influence is huge.
And when you look at practical examples, you start seeing these nudges in action everywhere, right? From those prominently placed recycling bins in public spaces to energy companies setting green energy as the default option for new customers.
They're quite common once you know what to look for.
The effectiveness of these nudges, though, isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, which is a key insight here, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. They really depend on specific cultural, social, and economic factors. A nudge that works perfectly in one country might completely backfire in another.
Right.
It highlights the critical need for context-specific interventions and a deep understanding of the local population's psychology and norms. You can't just copy-paste a successful nudge and expect the same results across different societies. It's a subtle art.
A very subtle art.
Absolutely. And when we connect this back to the broader concept of waste, it directly ties into the waste hierarchy model.
Okay, the hierarchy. I've heard of this. Reduce, reuse.
Exactly. At the very top, representing the most favored option, is reduce, simply generating less waste in the first place. This is followed by reuse, finding new purposes for items. Next comes material recycling, which is about processing materials to create new products.
Right, like my ill-fated chair attempt.
Precisely. Further down the hierarchy, we have energy recovery, where waste is incinerated to produce energy. And finally, at the bottom, the least favored option is landfill, where waste is simply buried.
Landfill is the last resort.
Ideally, yes. The nuance here is that while recycling materials is generally preferred over generating energy through combustion, because it offers greater environmental benefits, it's not always black and white.
How so?
Well, for instance, avoiding landfills for organic waste is crucial because it prevents the production of methane, a potent greenhouse gas. Valuable resources can be recovered through composting or anaerobic digestion instead. So even though energy recovery is higher on the hierarchy than landfill, recycling or composting organic material is generally better.
Gotcha. So it's about the specific material too.
Absolutely. This hierarchy provides a clear framework, linking everyday actions like sorting your trash directly with broader sustainability goals and global environmental impact.
What's truly insightful here, I think, is how often the core problem isn't a lack of desire to be sustainable, but a more fundamental lack of awareness or easily accessible, relevant information.
That's a very common finding.
If people don't clearly perceive the link between their individual actions and the collective environmental impact, they often default to choices that are more convenient or self-serving in the short term, right?
Precisely. We see this even in studies, for example, of young people in China who often sort waste not necessarily out of a deep-seated environmental concern, but more due to a moral obligation and a perception of behavioral control or subjective norms, meaning they feel it's what's expected of them.
Ah, the social pressure aspect again.
Exactly. This really highlights the complex interplay between moral recognition, moral judgment, and the intention to act, all of which drive engagement.
That makes sense.
And to add to that, while some groups or individuals might favor financial incentives for waste sorting, the research isn't entirely conclusive on how effective rewards or penalties truly are in motivating sustained behavior change across diverse populations.
So throwing money at it isn't always the answer.
Not necessarily, or at least not universally. We also observe that people tend to shift to more sustainable patterns only if it doesn't significantly impact their occupational needs or daily routines.
Have to be relatively easy or fit in.
Exactly, which underscores the necessity for tailored intervention strategies that encourage individuals to reflect more deeply on the personal, local, and even global implications of their waste sorting behaviors. The goal is to empower them to make truly informed and sustainable choices that integrate seamlessly into their lives, rather than feeling like an additional burden.
Now, if my misadventure with the recycling bin revealed the invisible rules of public civic life, my original story also hinted at a much more intimate yet equally complex challenge. The quiet automatic assumptions we make within our own homes, especially in multi-generational settings, with my wife being the quiet fact checker. It's clear these internal dynamics are just as intricate, if not more so, than the external ones we discuss.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one thing to figure out city bylaws. It's another to navigate the unspoken rules of who does what in the kitchen.
It's an excellent transition, moving from external societal norms to the internal dynamics of family, because the underlying principle of navigating assumptions remains constant. Just the stakes become, more personal.
All right.
Multi-generational living, specifically defined as at least 2 adult generations residing together, is an increasingly common and often beautiful arrangement, frequently involving 3 or even 4 generations under one roof.
Wow, 4 generations. That's a lot of perspectives.
It is. And the inherent challenges stem directly from the sheer diversity of individual ages, personalities, values, aspirations for the future, and deeply held expectations present within the household. Each generation brings its specific cultural, family, and personal values, profoundly influenced by their unique upbringing and the prevailing societal context of their formative years. This, in turn, shapes their economic perspectives, their societal views, their overall worldview, creating a rich, often challenging tapestry of perspectives under one roof.
It's almost like everyone has their own unique operating system running in their head. You've got the vintage model, the sleek modern update, and then maybe a beta version that's still full of bugs.
That's a remarkably apt analogy.
And sometimes those systems just don't want to talk to each other. You've got different apps, different interfaces, and a whole lot of unspoken background processes clashing. It's a miracle anything gets done without a total system crash.
That really captures the essence of the challenge. And this brings us to a foundational framework for understanding family dynamics: the 4 general family communication styles.
Okay, communication styles.
These are often categorized based on 2 key factors: conversation, which measures the openness and frequency of communication.
How make people talk.
Basically, yes. And conformity, which refers to the degree to which family members are expected to align with parental authority or existing family beliefs and values.
Right. How much you have to agree or follow the lead.
Exactly. So first, we have pluralistic families. These are characterized by high conversation and low conformity.
Lots of talk, less pressure to agree.
Precisely. In these homes, members feel genuinely comfortable sharing their opinions, even when there's significant conflict or disagreement. Decisions are typically made through open discussion and consensus, truly as a family unit, with everyone's input valued and considered. It's a very democratic communication environment.
Okay, so it's pretty healthy.
Next are consensus families, which feature high conversation but also high conformity.
So talk a lot, but ultimately mom and dad decide.
Essentially, yes. Here, open and honest conversations are highly valued, allowing for a free exchange of ideas and feelings. However, despite the robust discussion, the parents or primary caregivers ultimately make the final decisions, and children are generally expected to go along with those decisions without persistent questioning or challenging them. The idea is to reach a shared understanding, but with a clear leadership structure.
Right.
Then there are protective families, characterized by low conversation and high conformity.
Not much talk, high pressure to obey.
You got it. Communication in these families tends to be less frequent and less open. There's a strong emphasis on obedience and maintaining family harmony by adhering to established rules and parental authority. Discussions about differing opinions are often discouraged, and children are expected to simply comply.
Okay.
Finally, we have the laissez-faire style, with low conversation and low conformity.
Low talk, low rules. Everyone does their own thing.
Pretty much. In these families, individuals are largely left to make their own decisions with minimal parental guidance or involvement. Communication among members is generally minimal, and there's little to no expectation for decisions to be made as a cohesive family unit. Members tend to operate quite independently, often acting based solely on their individual needs and desires, with little interaction regarding shared family life.
I can definitely see how assumptions would absolutely thrive in the laissez-faire model.
Yeah.
It sounds like a house full of silent expectations and crossed wires, where everyone just assumes the other person knows what they're thinking or what needs to be done, when in reality, no one is really talking about it. It's like a game of charades where nobody knows the rules.
That's a great way to put it.
And conversely, it sounds like children growing up in those environments might be set up to struggle with basic communication and conflict resolution once they leave the home and enter the wider world, where expectations are often far more explicit.
That's a crucial observation. It's frequently seen that the communication patterns and habits children learn and practice within their home environment are often mirrored in their interactions outside the family.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You learn what you live.
Exactly. Therefore, consistently modeling positive and explicit communication habits within the family can profoundly help children successfully navigate relationships and challenges in their everyday lives, from the playground to the workplace. It fundamentally builds those foundational skills for their future interactions and their overall emotional intelligence.
My blue bin story, with its quiet automatic assumptions about what constituted recyclable plastic, perfectly illustrates how deeply ingrained our unconscious biases are. It wasn't about malice or trying to break the rules. It was just a blind spot, right?
Yeah.
An unexamined belief that led to a missed pickup. And in families, these blind spots can be even more impactful.
That's a powerful and crucial point. Unconscious biases are deeply ingrained attitudes, stereotypes, or preferences that influence our understanding, actions, and decisions without us even being consciously aware of them.
Right? The unconscious part is key.
It is. They often, ironically, conflict with our conscious stated beliefs. These biases don't come from a place of malice. They stem from a complex interplay of our environment, our upbringing, the cultural narratives we absorb, even the media we consume.
So they sneak in everywhere.
They do. For example, in a multi-generational household, an older generation might unconsciously assume younger family members are less capable simply due to their age or perceived lack of life experience.
Or vice versa, right?
Absolutely. Or conversely, a younger generation might assume older family members are resistant to new ideas or technology, when in reality, they might just need a different approach to learning or processing information. These are subtle yet powerful forces that can easily create friction.
Okay, so that raises a really important and somewhat uncomfortable question. How do we even know we have these biases, given that they operate below our conscious awareness? It's not like they announce themselves with a little bias alert siren going off in our heads.
If only. You're absolutely right. It's a significant challenge because they are, by definition, unconscious. However, individuals and families can begin to identify their biases through deliberate self-introspection, really thinking about their gut reactions or default assumptions in certain situations.
Paying attention to those knee-jerk reactions.
Exactly. Actively seeking and being open to feedback from others, particularly those from different backgrounds or generations, can also be immensely revealing. Sometimes a simple, when you said that, I assumed X, was that what you meant, can uncover a hidden assumption.
Being brave enough to ask.
Yes. For families, engaging in open discussions about differences in perspective without judgment can be a powerful tool. To mitigate their impact, developing standardized family procedures for common issues like chore distribution or decision-making can help ensure fairness.
Taking the guesswork out.
Right? And cultivating empathy and practicing active listening are also paramount, as they help us truly understand each person's perspective without allowing preconceived notions to color our perception. It's a continuous process of self-awareness and adjustment.
When you think about family dynamics, conflict isn't just about yelling matches or big arguments that erupt every now and then.
No, often it's not.
It's about the everyday mismatches, right? The little misfires like my trash bin misadventure or a misunderstanding over who was supposed to unload the dishwasher. It's those little moments of disconnection.
You've hit on a really profound aspect of relationships, and it's a concept known as mismatches and repair.
Mismatches and repairs. Okay.
These seemingly small moments of disconnection and the subsequent repairs or efforts to reconnect are absolutely critical, especially for the healthy development of self-regulation, coping mechanisms, and resilience in growing children, and, frankly, in adults too.
So the little bumps are important.
Very. It's through small, manageable doses of unpleasant feelings, those moments when the world or another person doesn't perfectly track our needs, followed by the pleasant feelings that accompany a repair or a successful coming back together, that individuals learn to navigate choppy waters and build emotional muscle.
Wow.
In fact, if caregiving or relationships were always perfectly smooth, without any friction or mismatches, it would actually hinder a child's or even an adult's development of crucial relational skills.
So we actually need the bumps to learn how to smooth things out.
In a sense, yes. Managed bumps followed by repair.
Here's where it gets really interesting and a point that really stuck with me from the reading. Repairing ruptures is the most essential thing in parenting.
It's a powerful idea.
It says you value the relationship above being right or avoiding discomfort. That's a powerful statement because it reframes conflict not as a failure to be avoided, but as an opportunity for deeper connection and growth.
It truly is. This principle extends beyond parenting to all family relationships. These bonds are strengthened most effectively by what we call horizontal or egalitarian exchanges.
Horizontal exchanges.
Yeah, these include activities like playing together, negotiating differences respectfully, taking turns, finding common ground through compromise, having genuine fun, and sharing psychological intimacy, essentially, respecting and enjoying one another as equals.
Treating each other like people, not just roles.
Exactly. Conversely, relationships are harmed by an over-reliance on power and authority, where one person dictates and others simply comply. And they are particularly damaged by stonewalling tactics like the silent treatment or completely shutting down, which create emotional distance.
The silent treatment. Deadly.
It can be incredibly damaging. When missteps inevitably happen, intimacy is restored when individuals express warmth and affection, talk openly and honestly about what happened, and offer sincere apologies.
Owning it.
Yes. It's about creating a family culture where rifts are expected because they will happen and repairs are welcomed, where requests like, I need a repair or can we have a redo are normalized. This allows individuals to communicate when the relationship has been harmed and to actively work towards mending it, fostering profound security and trust.
Okay, let's unpack this further. If unexamined assumptions and unconscious biases are the root of so many problems leading to misunderstandings, whether it's about recycling or chores or even deeper emotional connections, what's the solution? How do we actively bridge these gaps and ensure clear communication, particularly in our multi-generational homes?
Well, the absolute foundation of understanding, the core skill from with all other effective communication flows, is active listening.
Active listening. We hear that term a lot.
We do, and for good reason. It is a crucial skill because it systematically decreases misunderstanding, significantly increases the support you can offer to others, and genuinely helps everyone think things through more clearly and effectively. It is, in essence, a core component of collaborative problem solving, shifting the dynamic from individual frustration to a shared journey towards resolution. It's about truly hearing and internalizing, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Okay, so how do we actually do it? It sounds straightforward, like something we all think we do, but I imagine it's much harder in practice, especially when emotions are running high or when we're dealing with familiar patterns of communication within our own families. What are the concrete steps?
You're absolutely right. It takes deliberate practice and intentionality because our natural inclination is often to respond, not just to listen. The process involves a few key steps. First, you need to listen carefully to what the other person is saying, making sure to physically orient your body and eyes towards them. This simple act of turning your body and making eye contact sends a powerful nonverbal signal of engagement and respect.
Show you're paying attention.
Exactly. Second, and this is the active part, you then repeat in your own words what they've said. Or you can make an educated guess at the underlying meaning or emotion of their statement and articulate that back to them.
So reflect it back somehow.
Precisely. The critical part is that you continue these steps each time they say something new, creating a feedback loop that ensures mutual understanding.
Okay, can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine your child comes up to you excited and says, "There's a new film coming to town this weekend and all of my friends are going to go see it."
Right. Standard kid request incoming.
Yes. An active listening response might be you repeating in your own words, "So a film you think is exciting is starting soon and your friends are planning to see it. Is that right?"
Okay. Just clarifying.
Or guessing at the meaning or feeling, "You'd really like to see this new film on the weekend with your friends, is that it?" Or perhaps it sounds like you are really excited about this film and eager to go. Each of these responses validates what they've said and invites them to elaborate rather than you immediately saying yes or no or lecturing them about homework.
Gotcha. Keeps the door open.
Exactly. Here's another more challenging scenario. A teenager says, "I'm not going back to that school. I hate all the teachers and the kids."
Oof. Okay. Big feelings there.
Big feelings. Instead of immediately jumping in to offer solutions, dismiss their feelings, or invalidate their experience, which is our instinct.
Oh, it can't be that bad.
Right. Avoid that. An active listening response might be, "It sounds like you're really upset and maybe even angry about something that happened at school." If they then clarify, "Actually, it's not school as a whole, it's Mrs. Thomas. She doesn't care how anyone feels."
Okay, narrowing it down.
You could respond, "So Mrs. Thomas treated you badly and that's really bothering you." And if they continue, "She read my poem aloud to the class and then said how bad it was," you could say, "So she read your poem in front of the class and criticized it publicly. Boy, I wonder if that was incredibly embarrassing for you. I think I really understand why you're so upset."
Wow. That feels much more connecting.
It is. This empathetic reflection helps them feel heard and allows them to process their emotions rather than just shutting down or escalating.
It's truly amazing how this seemingly simple technique of active listening makes the other person feel genuinely understood, not just heard. It encourages them to disclose more, to dig deeper into their own thoughts, and ultimately builds their maturity and self-confidence by validating their experience.
It really does.
But it's incredibly hard not to jump to fix it or offer a solution right away, isn't it? It goes against that deeply ingrained instinct to problem solve, especially for those we care about.
It absolutely does. The common fail responses, as we playfully call them, are precisely those instincts. Immediately providing unsolicited fixes or solutions, arguing counterpoints, invalidating feelings, or lecturing or nagging.
F-A-I-L. Got it. Avoid the fail.
Avoid the fail. Active listening is about consciously retraining your automatic responses, cultivating new neural pathways for empathetic engagement. It takes deliberate practice, much like learning a new language or a musical instrument.
Okay.
And when children or even other family members complain about you parroting them, which they sometimes will because it's an unfamiliar interaction.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Stop repeating me.
Right. You can simply explain that you're working on a new skill meant to help make communication clearer, that you're motivated to fully understand them and listen better than ever before. It's a journey, a continuous practice, not a destination you arrive at overnight.
Beyond just active listening, What other intentional communication tools can we layer on to really bridge these gaps and foster more open dialogue?
Yeah,
Because I think we all want to get more than a one-word answer from our kids, for example, especially as they get older.
definitely.
And we want to prevent those same communication breakdowns we might have experienced ourselves.
Absolutely. One of the most effective tools is to ask open questions. We often fall into the trap of asking, "How was your day?" or "How was school?" and predictably get a fine or "Okay."
Guilty as charged.
We all are. To truly encourage a richer conversation, you need to ask specific questions that invite the other person to think, reflect, and elaborate. Instead of a closed yes/no question, you could ask, "What part of the day were you most excited about today?" Or, "Did you learn something interesting that surprised you?" Or even, "What was one challenge you faced today and how did you approach it?"
Questions that require more than one word.
Exactly. These kinds of questions create space for a narrative response, inviting deeper engagement and connection.
Okay, open questions. What else?
Another incredibly powerful tool is to use I statements. This represents a fundamental shift from blaming or accusing you to expressing your own feelings, perceptions, and needs.
Ah, the classic "I feel" statement.
Exactly. Instead of saying, "You make me so mad when you don't clean up your mess," which immediately puts the other person on the defensive.
Yeah, instant argument starter.
Right. You would rephrase it to focus on your experience. "I feel frustrated when the common areas are left untidy because it makes me feel like my efforts to keep things neat are not being respected."
It feels less accusatory.
It is. This simple rephrasing de-escalates tension, prevents defensiveness, and keeps the focus on your experience, which is something you can own and control, thereby inviting a more constructive response.
And it's not just about the words we use, right?
Mhm.
Our bodies are constantly talking, sometimes even louder than our mouths.
So true. Nonverbal communication is huge.
That's why it's so important to mind your nonverbal cues. This means consciously paying attention to your body posture, your facial expressions, the tone and volume of your voice, the physical distance you maintain, even your hand gestures. You want to make absolutely sure your verbal and nonverbal cues align. If you're saying, "I'm listening," but your arms are crossed and you're staring at your phone, the message is completely contradictory.
Absolutely. Credibility is lost instantly.
Things like nodding subtly, leaning in slightly, maintaining appropriate eye contact, and having an open posture all signal positive engagement and that you're truly present and receptive to the conversation.
Consistency is vital in fostering any form of positive communication, especially within the complex environment of a multi-generational family. This brings us to the importance of establishing family routines and rituals.
Routines and rituals, how does that help communication?
Well, if the only time you're speaking to your children or even other adult family members is when you're disciplining them or giving instructions, it becomes incredibly difficult to have those low-pressure, casual, and emotionally open conversations.
Right. Conversation becomes associated with problems or demands.
Exactly. Simple routines, like consistently eating dinner together as a family, setting aside a weekly board game night, reading a chapter of a book before bedtime, or even a designated weekly movie night, create safe and predictable spaces for natural dialogue to emerge.
Making time for connection.
Yes. These routines build a deep sense of stability and positive anticipation, making communication a natural and enjoyable part of family life rather than a forced formality.
What's particularly fascinating here is how multi-generational communication plays out in the digital realm, which has become such an integral part of our lives. We've often heard about the generational divide with technology.
Oh, yes.
Jokes about grandparents struggling with smartphones. But some intriguing research into family WhatsApp groups, like the Amarta family case study, reveals a unique star pattern where everyone is theoretically free to talk and give feedback without restrictions from other generations. It sounds wonderfully open and egalitarian in theory.
It is, and this research reveals some truly interesting differences in communication intensity and purpose between generations within these digital spaces. For instance, studies indicate that Generation Y, often referred to as millennials, has significantly more conversations and sends more messages in family WhatsApp groups compared to Generation Z.
Really? More the Gen Z?
Significantly more, yes. In one observed month, Generation Y members had an average of 224 chats, whereas Generation Z had only 62.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. Generation Y tends to use these groups more actively to build relationships, share daily updates, and feel closer to family members, maintaining a constant digital connection. In contrast, Generation Z often uses them more for formality, for practical announcements, or perhaps simply as a condition of being part of the family.
Like they have to be in the group.
Kind of, and they tend to prefer communicating one-on-one with whom they want, when they want, rather than in a large group chat. In fact, some Generation Z members in the study rarely or never chatted at all within the family group, preferring other, more direct or ephemeral forms of digital communication.
That makes so much sense. My own kids are masters of the short text, often just an emoji, while I'm still trying to get a full sentence out of them. It truly shows how different communication rules and preferences apply across generations, even when they're all using the same digital space.
Exactly. It's not just about what we say, but how, when, and where we choose to say it, and what meaning we ascribe to those different channels.
Fascinating.
Indeed. Understanding conflict also involves recognizing a fundamental truth about families. Members are intricately interconnected. Each individual's actions affect all others in a circular chain of influence.
Like ripples in a pond.
Precisely. And every action is also, in some profound way, a reaction. For example, a parent's harsh response to a child's tantrum might inadvertently exacerbate the child's out-of-control behavior, creating a negative feedback loop.
Right.
Similarly, a child might consistently demand attention whenever parents start to argue, creating a pattern of triangulation. Therapists often observe these repetitive patterns, and identifying them is a key step towards breaking vicious cycles and fostering more functional interactions within the family system. It's about seeing the dance, not just the individual steps.
That's a really critical point.
Yeah.
And within that, it's also important to acknowledge that holding individuals accountable for harmful behavior is sometimes necessary.
Yeah, absolutely essential.
This means moving beyond a purely no-fault stance if, for instance, there are elements of disrespect or stonewalling. Not all conflict is a shared misunderstanding. Sometimes it's about problematic dynamics that need direct addressing.
Absolutely. While conflict is a normal and indeed unavoidable part of human interaction, it can manifest in two very different ways. It can be either functional and constructive or dysfunctional and destructive.
Okay.
When dealt with openly, respectfully, and with a commitment to resolution, conflict can actually improve decisions, stimulate creativity by challenging assumptions, and provide a healthy outlet for tensions, ultimately strengthening bonds.
Conflict as a growth opportunity.
Potentially, yes. However, if poorly managed, through avoidance, stonewalling, or aggression, it can lead to persistent bitterness, reduced group cohesion, and a subordination of shared goals to ongoing personal infighting. The challenge, then, is to steer conflict towards its constructive potential.
So how do we actively make conflict more functional and less destructive? Are there some clever strategies, perhaps even a bit playful, to navigate those heated moments and ensure they don't spiral into control? I imagine it's about changing the very circumstances of the argument.
Precisely. Sometimes, simply changing the circumstances in which an argument takes place can dramatically reduce its negative impact. For example, a parent and a teenager who frequently clash might agree to schedule their arguments for a specific predetermined time each week.
Like, we'll fight about curfew on Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Maybe not quite like that, but dedicating a time to discuss difficult topics calmly, yes. Or even conduct particularly contentious discussions by email. This removes the immediacy and intense emotional heat of an impromptu confrontation, allowing for more thoughtful, less reactive responses.
Takes the heat out of the moment.
Exactly. Humor can also be an incredibly powerful tension-reducing tool. Some families might try putting on funny hats or glasses when they feel an argument brewing.
Seriously. Funny hats.
It sounds silly, but it can work. Or even leaving notes from unexpected sources, like a note from the garbage can, politely requesting to be emptied. These approaches disrupt the usual negative patterns and introduce a moment of lightness, making it harder for the summation to escalate.
Change in the script. I like it.
The ultimate key to resolving conflict effectively, however, is to consistently focus on underlying needs, not fixed positions.
Needs versus positions. Okay, explain that.
When you concentrate solely on the positions people are taking, I want this, you must do that, you tend to underscore disagreements and create a win-lose dynamic. But when you delve deeper and concentrate on the underlying needs that are driving those positions, I need to feel respected, I need more personal space, I need security, you often find far more common ground than you initially assumed.
Looking behind the demand.
Exactly. The goal isn't a zero-sum game where one person wins and the other loses, nor is it just a lukewarm compromise where neither party is truly satisfied. Instead, the aim is often a truly win-win solution, where both parties can benefit and the sum of everyone's needs is satisfied to a significant extent. It's about creative problem-solving together.
Ultimately, the path to better communication in multi-generational settings, or any setting for that matter, requires immense patience, mutual respect, and a genuine willingness to understand other perspectives.
It's ongoing work.
It is truly about treating the other person and their viewpoint with respect, and taking the time to let everyone state their viewpoint fully, without interruption, listening actively, and trying to truly comprehend before formulating a response. It's a continuous journey of growth and connection. Hashtag tag outro. So we started this deep dive with a rogue plastic chair and a baffled recycling truck.
Yes.
And somehow we ended up traversing the fascinating world of human assumptions, communication patterns, and the beautiful, complex mess of multi-generational living.
What's truly striking here is how much common ground and shared lessons exist across these seemingly disparate topics.
Isn't it?
Whether it's the cultural nuances of sorting trash or the delicate dance of navigating family dynamics, the core challenge often boils down to the invisible influence of implicit rules, the diverse interpretations we bring to every situation, and the profound, often overlooked need for clear, explicit communication.
Absolutely. From the rules of the curb to the rhythms of family life under one roof, understanding those invisible scripts and being willing to literally unpack them makes all the difference. It's about remembering that the deepest connections are often forged in the process of repair, right? And sometimes the best way to avoid a family ghosting or a ghosted recycling bin is to simply ask, help me understand what your concerns are regarding this, or what your perspective is.
Yes, and recognizing that those who don't follow the rules, whether they're about waste management in a new country or unspoken expectations in a family, aren't necessarily doing so out of malice.
Right, it's usually not intentional.
Often it's out of a genuine lack of awareness, different cultural norms they've internalized, or even simply different priorities and experiences. It profoundly underscores the deep and pervasive impact of culture and individual perception on every single aspect of our lives.
From the complexities of waste management in a new country to the nuanced dynamics of a family WhatsApp group, it's abundantly clear that life's little frictions often just need a little more clarity, a little more intentional listening.
And maybe,
just maybe, a little less plastic patio chair in the blue bin.
I'm gonna said it better myself.